Welcome to the JAMODI Podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders, so let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it. Coaches, we are all searching for ways to better evaluate players in order to give meaningful feedback. Over 15 years ago, I put together a test called the JAMODI Skill Rating. The JSR takes players through a series of tests involving basketball skill or athleticism, giving them one rating at the end. Their JSR rating will give you clarity on what needs to be discussed with players and parents on areas they need to focus on improving. I test our players at least 4 times each year. They're able to compete against each other, past players' scores, and most importantly, their past performances. If you'd like to start testing your athletes, email me at jamodipodcast@gmail.com for more information.
I agree. And that makes so much sense. And you said something make it cruel to leave. We had a principal in our district. He's a former basketball coach at Summit, Coach Mutterer. I don't know if you know Coach Mutterer. Great coach, but he's one of the most real human beings. Kids love him. And he has this saying, real recognizes real. And I think he uses that as his ability to connect with students when there's sometimes barriers, whether it be a lot of different barriers. But he was in New York on the Today Show, and he's now the head principal at Summit, but he did something that is incredible to me that shows you how genuine he is. He wrote every high school graduate a personal letter that said whatever. And I was like, how? It's just a generic letter. And some of the kids, we talked to him, say, no, coach, he spoke about a couple of our encounters in the hallway. Like they were genuine letters. And he gave each kid $1 and said, man, I wish I could give you more, but here is something as you start your journey on life. And I'm like, it lets me know I can do more. I love seeing coaches do that.
That's inspiring. It's inspiring for sure.
Man. So, but things like that are going to become more and more important as the climate again changes. And I think it goes back to what you said. Man, it's hard to leave a principal like that. Man, if you work for somebody like that, changing jobs is hard. If you're a student and your principal, if you're a coach and that coach is it's hard to leave him. So what you just said, I wrote down is like, make it cruel and you're battling your soul and your spirit to leave, rather than most kids, they don't even tell you they're gone. They just disappear and don't come back. So I think, like you said something when you said, man, this is the place to be. How? Because this man, this woman, they care about me. And that's more important to this stranger who's just trying to throw me a pair of shoes and a plane ticket to travel around and play basketball. I think caring is the difference maker that we're missing. And I think that's where we can pick up a lot of ground is really convincing. And you got to sell it. Man, I really care about you and I care about your dreams. So I think that's going to be really important as we move forward with high school basketball in every state, not just Texas. I've coached in a couple of them, but all of them. And everybody's having the same, I can talk to my friends in Maryland and St. Louis, and everybody's having the exact same struggle. Like, how do we keep kids? How do we keep our relationships better and stop letting, agents and other people be the more important decision makers in their life? And right now, their voice is louder than our voice, unfortunately. So we've got to figure out how that our voice is still relevant before it becomes, not only is their voice more important, but now our voice is completely irrelevant and they don't listen to us at all. And those aren't going to be fun players to coach. So we've got to figure out how to get our voice louder again. And I think that goes back to that relationship piece that you were talking about earlier.
And that's a good point about the volume. There's a lot of noise that we hear as coaches that players are hearing now. And so I think the way that we can combat their volume is consistency. Like, I want to show up as the exact same person every day, regardless of what I just heard. I just got some news that, man, I think this kid's thinking of going. Well, I'm going to show up the exact same way tomorrow, and I'm going to give him my best. And then here's one thing, because coming from the private school world, a lot of people think that everybody's just leaving public school to private. Like, we're the ones taking kids. I know in my heart that in 12 years, I didn't bring anybody to faith. One, wasn't going to work anyway. Really hard to get into there. There's 3 things that you have to have that it just makes that circle really small. But at private school, we lost kids quite a bit. And some kids would start to improve their skill because we're developing them every day. And then all of a sudden, there's opportunities to go other places and they're not bound by where they live. So I've felt that loss over the years. And early on, like I said before, took it personally, didn't handle it very well. And then, so here's maybe something that'll help any coach that is listening to you and me and just kind of feels a little helpless. Like, I think I'm doing my very, very best to create this place of relationship and development, but it just still feels like I'm losing kids or they're not listening to me. Here's where I go. And if you're a person of faith, maybe it helps, but I trust that God has brought the people that are in my gym right now for a reason. And whoever he brings into that gym, that's who I got. And he's put them there. And so I can long for the players that's left, or I can wish that more talent comes, or I can just wake up with that sense of peace that surpasses all understanding, that he is in control of who is in this place. And I think what that does for me is kind of gives me focus on what I need to do. Now, does that mean that we'll win as much as other teams that have more talent? Probably not. But then we can define success in a different way. Like my senior year at Baylor, we were 8-21 with 6 scholarship players and a brand new Scott Drew after so much turmoil. 8-21 coach, incredibly successful. Not the kind of thing that probably gets stories written about you, or you know, you don't have any banners there because 8-21, but we can define success based on who's in our gym. And I just got to believe that they're there for a reason.
Oh, well said. And that's something else to think about is, you know, sometimes you lose sight of the people that did stay and they get to see a lesser version of you because you've taken it personal that a player is left. And I think, you know, they deserve still those kids that did decide to stay, that God did leave in your life. They still deserve the best version of you and they still need all of you also. So that's another great point that was made.
Oh, and to your point right there, not even the ones that left, maybe some of them that are in your gym. And we both know that sometimes 2 or 3 players dominate 80-90% of our focus. And not just because we're teaching them, but because it's going slow again, not bringing his best. That's not, I always say, if Coach Sayman can guard you, you're not going fast enough. Let's just have that like that's the standard. You got to go faster than if I can guard you or not. Right now, as a 43-year-old, we focus on them. And my high school coach, Tommy Thomas, when I was just starting out, I said, Coach, what's one thing you would do different? And he said, I would pay attention and get to know players 9, 10, 11, and 12 more. And I thought, oh, man. And then it's kind of like I heard that 19 years ago, and here I go again, year 1 at Midway. And I think I'm focusing on like 5 of them, you know, but I need to zoom out. And like you said, they're all there. They all want to be there. And some are giving more, but I mean, I need to zoom out more.
Yeah, but I'm the same way, man. I remember, I think I spoke at, I can't remember what clinic it was, maybe the Mavs clinic, and somebody asked me. And that's one of the things with me that has become really important is if you look back at your teams, sometimes the ones that cause the most issues are maybe 7, 8, 9, and 10, because those kids do show up every single day. They're doing exactly the same or more as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they don't get near the recognition or the playing time. And it's easier and I shouldn't say easier, but at least starters get to start and play. Imagine being
Glory.
8.
They get the glory.
They get the glory. And imagine being 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and especially on a bad team, because I've had bad teams and I'm like, you know, we're going through practice. We already have a bad team and these kids still don't get to play on a bad team and we're getting beat. So like that's become so important to me in practice. When we practice, I coach the second group. Those are the guys that I coach. If we do anything live, those are the guys that I say the most to. Those are the guys that I spend more time with. I try to spend time because they need it. They need the reassuring that it's easy to say, Coach doesn't care about us. And sometimes it looks like that. It may not be true, but from what they see, they don't get to play. You don't coach them maybe as hard. And sometimes maybe there's a kid that gets away with something that he shouldn't because he's a little bit, I mean, I'm just being a real coach.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes you tolerate more from a player who maybe is a lot better than player 11, 12, 13. And kids are not dumb. They see it. They're smart. So I think Coach Cal said it best, man. He intentionally spends more time with those in because he thinks they're important in practice and they are going to win some games from you. So you got to keep them engaged and believing in what you do because they can be team killers if they're on the end and their body language is bad and they're always unhappy. So a big part of that is investing in those. So I do think that's important. So hearing that 19 years ago or how long ago it was and now, that's incredible because it's even more true today because in today's climate, I was telling our coaches, I have to coach our freshmen more than ever now. In the past, what has happened is we start off at the beginning of the year and then we dump them on our freshman coach and we peek our head in the gym. Well, what I learned this year is 5 of those freshmen are now going to play on varsity. And I didn't spend near enough time with them. That's my fault. I mean, there's no excuse for it. Well, those 3 players that I was counting on are no longer there. They're gone. So now the players that I probably could invest in more in are the players that I'm depending on now. So be careful who you employ.
You're here now. So glad. Hey, come on. You get this time now that guy was getting. Yeah, no doubt.
So my message would be with the way climate is set up and the transfer, man, invest more in those kids, even though they're not as good now. Man, sometimes we're going to have to coach more into the future. And I know that's hard. Like we're going to have to coach kids looking at their junior year, senior year, knowing that it may happen quicker depending on your roster. And we've got to embrace that rosters are going to change just because it's not an attack on you or your program. That's the climate that basketball is in right now. So with that, now I'll spend so much more time with my freshmen, which I was doing anyway, but now I'm entirely more intentional about what if these have to play next year. I want to get them ready so that if they have to play next year, they're ready. So again, that goes back to embracing change. That's even helped me in coaching the way I coach 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 now, all because the climate and culture of basketball has changed. So another good point.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI Podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.